China and the world generally cares less about what we in the United States have to say today. It's clear for those traveling abroad that America has lost not all, but much of our political leverage. Call it respect, call it reputation, call it disappointment, call it trust. Overall, those qualities, those influence, were a most vital part of our capital, our clout, our power. It had to do with our struggles for a middle class, our stepping into the dream of equality and fairness. This is what was lodged, and even if it was lodged secretly, in the hearts of humans the world over. Not the international corporate rape and greed that has spread, but the charity, the sharing of knowledge, the freedom of expression and thought, the ability to participate in the discussion. That's why people came to America and still come. Our greatest strengths and the most powerful leverage we had and still can regain, the more we get back to it, the more we continue to fight for it, have been these qualities, and the transparency, the inclusion, and freedom from authoritarian rule, our long-fought-for battles on fairness, on safety, livable wages, on leaders not being above the law, open educational systems, free libraries, on our charity, give me your poor. We tend to help people, yes, even strangers, because they are fellow human beings. This is huge. The growing corporate message is profit, but the country's message is we care. You belong. We can make this a better world together. There is much talk in China of how open and international they are, but entering the subway in Beijing or Shanghai speaks much louder and shows very clearly the invaluable experience and the walk with the talk that you see in America's big cities. On Beijing's subways, 99% have straight black hair, and they are Han Chinese. In New York, Boston, or Chicago, it's every conceivable shade, type of religion, nationality. That kind of face, that challenge has been our strength. It may be a short-term advantage for the Chinese, but if we are talking about the experience in world leadership, we need to support our tremendous strength that comes from the hard work of our American cities actually gathering the world, living and working side by side every day, and continue to spread the truth that shines naturally from that. Let's not let it slide. China feels it has a valid excuse, not that it needs one, to quietly build one of the largest militaries in the world. It has the income now and seems to follow the same, I feel, wasteful and misguided paths of most nations, especially our own in recent years. With dwindling treasury, our private armies are growing as well. That is very, very ominous. So leaders need to sit and talk to each other about why we're building these huge armies, and how we can retool the weaponry and transform their services for the betterment of humanity. The common people want this. We need our leaders to catch up. If it's about territories such as Taiwan, or the need to grab resources when we need them, can we not work this out besides using military force? Yes, mature and wise people can. They don't talk about terrorism in China. Perhaps the well-hidden hand is enough there. They push for the military-industrial complex because of the outside terror threats of Russia and an aggressive U.S., etc. While there, I had a front-page article showing a scowling Vladimir Putin and a photo of a new nuclear submarine translated for me. The headline quoted Putin saying, "To build this new submarine, I'll sell the Kremlin if I have to." Putin never said this, but there will be no counter-press. This fear, along with showing our Iraq war, pushes the same mindset that is pushed in America, that outsiders are dangerous and we have to be militarily prepared. As with our country, the threats are often overblown and sometimes plain outright lies. Anything to justify and get the unknowing public behind military spending and policy. The world really needs us both to help protect us from cruelty and despots, not to become that, and to protect us from this new, very dangerous technology. We were duped about the reasons for going to Iraq. The Chinese people were duped by the early Mao, writing in his little red book that a reason he was fighting the feudal power system was to, quote, let 1,000 flowers bloom in China, and led the people to believe, yes, their aspirations were going to bloom. One of the first things he did after gaining power is take that line out of the book. 1,000 flowers were evidently far too many for his rule. In the U.S., there are unfortunate moves consolidating our media under the ownership of big corporations, so we're seeing less and less choice and independence, and more message control. But here in China, it is all very clear. There is one national news program, CCTV, owned by one central government for all of China. That one news program airs the same time in the evening all over China. They are all fed what has been carefully selected, and that's about it. Another invaluable gift, a great treasure that we often take for granted, is the public library. There is no public library in China. Here, there's no public education after grade 6. If you want your child to go further, you have to pay. About dogs, yes. Although it's less acceptable, in some areas they still eat dog and sell dog fur in winter. The quality isn't considered the best, but you can find our best friend in fur season. Dealing with the handicapped. The country and even its capital, Beijing, was completely inaccessible to the handicapped. Throughout there are high curbs, stairs to everything, no ramps, no chairlifts to buses. Not a thought for anyone who would need a wheelchair or who may not be able to walk. I'm sorry, but this says a lot about how you treat your fellow man. What exactly happens to the handicapped in China? Seems survival. How the West cares for those who have less physical or less emotional or mental ability speaks volumes about our civilization. Imagine the hole in our world if the many people weren't able to contribute to our society, or a person such as Stephen Hawking was not given a chance to communicate what was going on in his brilliant mind. Another subject, I saw farmers completely oblivious to the dangers of handling and spraying insecticide and fungicides and other chemicals without protection. Returning to read headlines in the U.S. for days about our efforts to save 6 lives in a mine shaft brings forward the stark comparison when you learn that in China many hundreds can die each year in mines, mostly without notice. Why? Yes, in the U.S., your life, each human life, we still believe has value, has worth. And if there's tragedy, someone will be held accountable, and hopefully in this way we learn from it. Common courtesies we have been used to are not as easily apparent in China. Just saying thank you was an action considered highly unusual. I would thank bus drivers and chefs and those who served me in small and out-of-the-way places. They were often perplexed and stunned. Most were overjoyed and broke into a smile, like someone saying thank you for their service hadn't happened before or in a long time. That's a key of the West, recognizing and being appreciative of others, of the others' efforts and service, not taking it for granted or assuming it will be done for you because it's their job. Small things like when people sneeze, the West's automatic response is, "Excuse me," or "God bless you." That doesn't happen here in China. But more importantly, the health protection of covering your mouth hasn't hit the mainstream yet either. They also spit a tremendous amount. With the pollution, this may be healthy, but it can be unnerving, especially inside. People litter openly, and I saw no postings for fines for littering. It's your country, it's your nest, it's your bed. I'm told littering is okay because it's the job of government workers who pick it up.